everyone, and welcome to another episode of 3 Things You Need to Know Right Now. In this series, we talk with the experts about the topics you need to know right now. My name is Jennifer Best. I am the VP of Marketing with AAE Speakers Bureau based in Durham, North Carolina. We are a speakers bureau focused on helping event strategists and organizers find the ideal speaker, entertainer, celebrity, or talent for their events. And with me today, I'm very honored to be joined by Deanna Singh. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Deanna. Deanna wants to live in a world where marginalized communities have power. As an expert social entrepreneur, she's obsessed with making the world a better place, and she will build or break systems to create positive change. Deanna is the founder and chief change agent of Flying Elephant, an umbrella organization for 4 social ventures, all of which are dedicated to shifting power to marginalized communities. Through uplifting impact, she empowers businesses and individuals to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion in their workplaces by offering consulting, coaching, and training, including a biannual virtual summit that draws thousands of attendees. While tackling complex social challenges, Deanna gives audiences the tools and courage to imagine, activate, and impact the world as agents of change. Deanna is a trailblazer and dynamic speaker who is at the forefront of social change. She's an accomplished author, educator, business leader, and social justice champion who speaks to over 50,000 people annually. She's also the author of the new book, Actions Speak Louder, a step-by-step guide to becoming an inclusive workplace, which is currently available for pre-sale and will be released later this month. She's also the author of Purposeful Hustle, and she's received several awards for her children's books on race and inclusion. Welcome, Deanna.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here with you.
Great. Lovely to host you. I would love to hear a little bit about what you've got going on in your world right now.
Well, I always have a lot of things going on. And that is because I am so incredibly passionate about the work that we get to do every single day. But I would say one of the biggest things that's happening is our release of the Actions Speak Louder book. And Jennifer, one of the things that's like most exciting to me about it, one is that we're at this stage, because writing a book, not a joke, right? It is a time-consuming, all-encompassing activity. So I'm happy to be at the stage where now it's like out of my hands and going into the world. But what really gets me excited is that we're already seeing people who have gotten a chance to look at the book in advance actually put it into action, right? The book is called Actions Speak Louder. And so the reason why I am like pumped up and super ready to go is because we've already seen at the beginning that people will find that they can actually take what they read there and what they're learning and like literally put the book down and then change behaviors and change some of the things that they're doing within their organizations. And that has got me super pumped.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's exciting. I can't wait to read it. So today we're going to be talking about the 3 things we need to know about having an inclusive workspace. So with that, let me go ahead and kick it off. What's the very first thing we need to know?
So first thing is to articulate your DEI brand. Now, a lot of times when I say that, people kind of take a step back, like, what does she mean, my DEI brand? Like, what is that even relating to? Mm-hmm. And what it means is that you have to be able to share with individuals internally and externally where you stand in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, the reason why that's so incredibly important is because too often we're working with clients and we have partners and they're like, no, this is the stuff that we're doing. And I'm like, well, have you shared that? Are you telling people that you're doing? They're like, no. I'm like, well, then how will people know that this is something that you value and this is something that's really important to you? What we find in the research shows is that if you aren't articulating it, the assumption is that you're not doing anything, right? The assumption is that you don't care about diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. And so it is really important to at least like get out there and say, this is what we're working on. I will tell you that as you do that, one of the things to keep in mind is that you have to be authentic. Right. So please don't go out there and say like, we are doing all these things when you're really not doing them. It's okay to say, here are the areas where we're working on. These are our values and how it ties to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And here are some things that are work in progress. Right? Here are the places that we want to grow. So being authentic in that definition, but saying it is incredibly important.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I really agree with you 100% there. I know that As a small company that we are, I mean, it is something that we've been working on as well internally, and it's really important for us to make sure. And I'm realizing as you're talking, I'm like, I don't think that we're communicating particularly well. And now I've made a mental note of that. So filing that away, and that will be something that we will take a look at and make sure that we are communicating. But I can understand that, yeah, there's this understanding, like, you think that people know because you're working so hard on things behind the scenes, but unless you say you're working on them and show that you're working on them, I guess people just don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't want that, right? I mean, it takes a lot of energy and effort, like any strategy that we might have within our organizations. It takes a lot of energy and effort to do those things and to do them well. And you want people to be involved. I always say, you can't go about trying to create inclusion through an exclusionary process. So you can't exclude people from having the conversation and seeing what you're working on and think that you're going to create inclusion. It doesn't actually work that way.
Oh, that's so true. Okay, what's the second thing we need to know about creating an inclusive workplace?
So the second thing I would say is to retain like you're competing, because actually you already are, right? When we look at all of the things that are happening and all the big trends right now, what you can't not pick up a newspaper, turn on the news and see the television and not hear some kind of conversation about the Great Resignation. I mean, people are constantly having conversations of why are people leaving? How do we keep people in our organization? So this is something that shouldn't come as a surprise. But I think what it does kind of highlight, this idea of retaining like you're competing, is it highlights that you have to be proactive, right? You have to be really thinking about what does it look like for people who are in our organization? Why are they staying, right? Why are the people who are our best people staying? And asking those questions so that you can make sure that you're staying competitive. Right now, there is so much that's changing about the way the workplace is and how it will be. I mean, everything is up for discussion and conversation and disruption. And so you want to make sure that you're participating by actively engaging in what are the things that we are going to do? What's our strategy going to be for retaining people so that they want to stay in our organization?
I love that. And we are a company that really prides ourselves on corporate culture, but I do think that's a really valuable exercise for any company to go through and walk through and talk to your people about why they're staying. We've been very, very fortunate in that regard with awards. So I'm really proud of AAE for that. But I do see where this is a message that a lot of companies and organizations need to hear. I mean, everybody seems to be struggling, and we're in a market, and we're in the Triangle in North Carolina. So we're in the Raleigh-Durham Metro, and we are in one of these super competitive Austin-like bubbles with both the job market and employees here, as well as housing. So this is really, really interesting. And I think companies should take this to heart for sure, because they need to understand if they're going to be competitive, it's not just salary. It's all the things, right?
Oh, it's so much of, and if you look at the research, what people are saying, like when people are saying like, I moved, I left, you do get, I left for better pay, or I left for a better opportunity. But a lot of what you get is I left because I didn't think I could have any other growth in my organization. I didn't feel like I was getting professional development. I didn't feel like people cared if I showed up or if I didn't show up. Those are all things that are easily fixed, right? Like those are all things that can be addressed with kind of nominal changes, not even huge financial outpourings. And so I think that that's the kind of place, right? That those are the sticky places that allow for people to say, yeah, I might have gotten this offer and it's a little bit more money, or, a different title over here, but I know this company cares about me, and they show me in the way that they've actually been explicit with their retention strategies. So that means more to me than actually, getting onto another bus and going to another different organization.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so very true. Okay, what is the third thing that we need to know?
So the third thing, and I say this and I hope everybody hears me, but the third thing is about intention, and specifically around mentorship and sponsorship. Here is like a pure fact. People who are coming from marginalized communities within your organizations often will assume that mentorship or sponsorship is something that's kind of in the same vein as nepotism, right? Something that isn't necessarily earned, or something that flies in the face of somebody, putting their best foot forward, or being able to achieve on their own accord. But everything that we've ever learned about business and how business is done and how people grow in their jobs and how they move forward points to the fact that we all need mentors, right? We all need somebody who can help us to navigate the terrain. And the more mentors we have who are invested in us, the more likely we're able to do that well and to really get to the places where we can thrive. So if you have a group of people that's saying, oh, I don't know about that mentorship, it seems like it's, me kind of cheating. And then on the other hand, the other thing you see a lot of is we typically only mentor people who look like us, right? So you have people who are getting mentored and getting mentored really regularly, but you're not getting people who are coming from marginalized communities. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? And so one of the things that you have to do in order to break that double-edged sword is to be intentional, to say, you know what, it's going to be important that we go out and make sure that we're looking for people who don't look like us, who don't come from our background, and that we're making sure we're offering mentorship opportunities. At the same time, it's also important to be able to communicate to groups that are in these marginalized communities. These are opportunities for you, and it's not a bad thing. It's actually what we all need in order to be successful, and changing the tone of what that looks like and the perception around it. I think once you have an understanding of that and you create mentorship opportunities, not only do the mentees grow, but the mentors grow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those are the kinds of, when you think about inclusion, it really is about relationship building. So those are the kinds of places where you build those those deep relationships, right? The relationships that allow for you to figure things out and ask questions and really find out, what you can do and what you can bring to the table. But I added sponsorship, Jennifer. So I want to make sure that I also articulate kind of the difference, right? So mentorship is, yep, we are mentoring, right? We have a mentor-mentee relationship. I'm navigating, I'm helping you with some of the day-to-day things that you're doing and decisions you have to make. Sponsorship is different in that when you're thinking about sponsorship, it means that I am going into rooms and I am literally saying your name. I am bringing your name forward. Again, one of the things that happens is that when we go into spaces, we are typically more inclined to sponsor, right? To say like, hey, have you ever seen Jennifer's work? She's amazing. She does these things. If I have some kind of affinity with Jennifer, but if I don't, then it's less likely that I'm going to make mention of her, right? Or try and say like, hey, we should think about Jennifer being involved in this project. And I cannot tell you how many times when we've talked to leaders, right, who have shifted out of organizations and decided they were going to go someplace else, what they point to, again, not money, not what they point to is, yeah, I never got chosen to do any of the projects. Like I was never lifted up to take any new leadership roles or try on new challenges. And what was that a result of? It was the result of them not having sponsors in the organizations who would say, look, I think that we should think more broadly about who we're bringing into these conversations, into these decisions, into these opportunities. And that gets back to that retaining like you're competing, right? And it also gets back to this idea of being able to articulate, no, this is what we are doing. And so it's a nice one to tie kind of all three of them together.
Absolutely. Okay. So full disclosure, I'm a big fan of mentorship. I volunteer in an organization and I run the mentorship program for that. And I couldn't agree more that it is really mentorship in any company. I've been involved with companies that have had their own internal mentorship programs as well. And it is so beneficial to participants that I cannot speak highly enough of the concept of mentorship in an organization. Total fan. And I think it's also really valid and important to mentor the sponsorship part of it, because you have to have those opportunities. It's not enough to just be mentoring, providing guidance and or learning from somebody, but it's getting those opportunities. Just like you said, I 100%, 1,000% agree with what you're saying. And I'm a huge fan of that topic. So I think it's also really great how you just tied that all together in a neat little bow. So very, very well done.
Thank you. And it's an easy question to ask yourself. Like, when was the last time I elevated somebody who came from a different social identity than I am, right? Literally asking yourself the question. And then that's a good reflection question, but a good action question is, when could I do this, right? What would that look like? Who would I elevate? And in what situations could I do that? And how can I hold myself accountable? Again, very, very, very simple action, but could have a tremendous impact on the career trajectory of somebody else.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. So Deanna, thank you so very much for our chat today. I really appreciate you sharing 3 things we need to know about building an inclusive workplace. Guys, as always, we will post a couple of very important links in our description, including where you can connect with Deanna on social media, a link to her new book that's coming out at the end of the month, Actions Speak Louder. Definitely check that out. And it is available for pre-sale on Amazon or wherever you buy your books today. So Deanna, thank you again so much for taking some time out from your very, very busy schedule to talk with us about the 3 things we need to know about building an inclusive workplace. Again, my name is Jennifer Best with All American Entertainment Speakers Bureau based in Durham, North Carolina. If you like this video, check out the others in our series, as well as follow us on social media wherever you hang out. So thanks again, Deanna, and everybody have a great rest of your day. Take care.